So, welcome back. And thanks again to our last speaker. Our next session will be about volumetric video capture and delivery. By the way, here from where I'm talking from, we are struggling a lot with volumetric capture for research purposes. So I'm very interested in this particular session. And we will have 4 speakers on stage. Steve Sullivan from Microsoft, Paul Kim from Samsung, and Christine Heller from Metastage, and Jalina Stewart from VRAccelerator. So in this session, we will discuss about the state of the art of volumetric capture and how this technique can benefit from huge innovations like 5G, for example, in terms of distribution. So welcome to our speakers.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Paul. Hi, Christina. Hi, Jalina.
Everyone. Hey.
Hey, thank you for that. So yeah, thanks for introducing the panel, and we've got a really great group of people here today to talk about volumetric video capture and delivery, and talk about the state of the art and get into some of the issues that we're facing and the ways that we're addressing them and kind of working through creatively to make this new medium accessible to everyone in the world. So just quick recap on the panel. We have Jalina Stewart, who is the head of production at the VRAccelerator. We have Paul Kim, who addressing them and kind of working through creatively to the CEO at Metastage. So we're gonna kind of hop right in with the questions and answers here. Basically, the way this panel is going to work is we've got some questions that I've written out for the panelists here, and be asking them questions, have some media to support their questions and answer segments, and then we'll kind of get into more of a round table with some more open-ended questions and some maybe a little bit of story time to understand kind of what makes these people excited about this new medium. So starting off, Jalina. VRAccelerator is just getting up and running. Other than the typical challenges of starting a new venture, what have been some of the hardest parts of starting a new volumetric video production studio?
So VRAccelerator is a new division of Pier 59 Studios, which is essentially a mega studio. It's the Hollywood of fashion, advertising, photography, and videography. And one of the most challenging, but also one of the most exciting aspects of starting a new volumetric facility was the actual build and integrating into a working studio with a pre-existing infrastructure and a 25-year history. Fashion Week is central to business at Pier 59, and so we had to take a phased approach to the construction. We did it in 3 phases. In December 2018, we had the initial demolition. We raised the ceiling, we ripped out a 5-sided cyclorama, we did soundproofing, but we had to have a pristine again for Fashion Week, which was around the corner in February. And then in spring 2018, we began our 2nd phase of construction, paused again in September for Fashion Week, and at the end of September, we installed the system. And this past December, we did the final phase of construction and paused again for Fashion Week in February, and finally finished right before the quarantine. So
perfect timing.
Yes. So here we're looking at solutions for Fashion Week because it's been forever changed with the pandemic, and they're looking for virtual solutions for the upcoming fall shows. And so we're playing with different environments and putting models in different environments and looking at virtual runways. And with volumetric, because it can be played back at any time, anywhere, there's the possibility of democratizing an event that was once extremely exclusive and inaccessible to most people. And now you could have the possibility of, watching models and your favorite brands from the comfort of your home or wherever. And there's also the opportunity to actually make purchases from the collection rather than having to wait for those items to be in the stores.
Cool. Yeah, so it sounds like you had a bit of a back and forth with Fashion Week as you were trying to get running for all these years. And now with Corona being what it is, you're going to be able to service them far better than you were ever able to before. So that's, you know, that's a neat little kind of cap to getting the new studio up and running. Yeah.
Interesting timing.
Yeah. So on the Capture Studio side of things, I'm going to kick it over to Steve. What have you found challenging, both enjoyable and frustrating, with bringing a new capture medium to market from the established technology leader that is Microsoft?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it still feels like we're just getting started. You know, we've been doing this for about 10 years, and commercially, like putting content out in market for almost 5 years. And I think in the early days, just people trying to grok, like, what is this? Not even knowing really how to think about it. So a lot of our time was spent on education, of course, while honing the technology and making it actually usable by people versus just a science demo. And then I think what we're seeing now is the market is much more informed, much more mature. People come to us with a clear idea what this is, why they want to use it. They're familiar with the state of the art. They're familiar with the players in the field, and they're using it. They want to use it to execute projects, which is exactly where we hope the market would be. This is just a new kind of media versus something that's got a wow factor to it. So for us, you know, at Microsoft, we have these great resources. We have researchers we can tap into, all kinds of sales channels, marketing machines, et cetera. Of course, the brand. And obviously the big advantage and the reason we even exist is being affiliated with the HoloLens program and the mixed reality program at large. You know, we're a significant component of that. So there's a huge tailwind for us on that. The challenge, of course, is that we need to stay aligned with Microsoft as a brand and program goals. So we're less nimble than a startup might be if we were completely on our own. But it's brought us so much credibility and so many resources that we're just super thankful to be doing it from within Microsoft. And we've actually structured ourselves in kind of a unique way of almost being a startup within the company to allow us a little bit more flexibility and more ability to engage other people. And that balance has been fantastic.
Yeah, has that been one of the, I guess, enjoyable parts, is getting to act like a startup inside of a larger established company? Like, I guess that's kind of how you've been able to become such a leader in the space.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, very, very well-funded startup, put it that way. I mean, obviously we still have our constraints, you know, and to stay close to brand, but they're really less constraints and more just opportunities because we have so much machinery around the mixed reality program.
Very cool. Very cool. So looking at the more established brands and kind of how things are, you know, getting out into the market, wanted to kick it over to Christina to talk some about Metastage, which uses Microsoft's Capture Studio. So in a recent discussion before the panel, we were talking some about kind of what's going on at Metastage, and you brought up Jadu, a new product that you're launching, which I hope I'm saying correctly. I've just been reading it. And it sounds really exciting on its own as a kind of product and how it can function, which I'll let you go into and not try and explain something that I know very little about. But I was reading this week in a Forbes article that TikTok is supposed to be launching AR integrated ads sometime in the not so distant future. So those two things coming together is, like, you know, kind of, you see how the future is going to work. And so I was wondering if you wanted to share with us kind of how brands and companies can take advantage of what Metastage has been doing for years to leverage new things that TikTok is working on.
Yeah, sure. There was a lot in there. Quick intro. Metastage, as you said, is the Los Angeles licensee of the Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture Studios technology stack. And so we benefit from all of the smart people at Microsoft and on the mixed reality capture team, figuring out a lot of the really difficult technical challenges. And then we get to bring them to market in a commercial fashion with clients who are interested in all kinds of use cases. We are extremely excited about Jadu, which is one of our new partnerships with Asad J. Malik, he and One Rick. They essentially, Jadu allows you to take the volumetric captures we do of Metastage of influencers, musicians, and brings it into the homes of fans everywhere, where they can then create content do all kinds of fun, user-generated content, as I said, and then distribute it through the app right to TikTok and Instagram. It was a bit of an experiment, a proof of concept when they launched it, and within, I think, a couple of weeks, they had over 2 million impressions on TikTok with just 5 of the holograms that we captured. Fans from around the world just making really fun videos with their favorite stars. So that's an initiative that you're going to see a lot of, I think, in the next couple of years. And as you said, a lot of these social media platforms, TikTok, Snap, and looking forward to next year or the year after, even Apple, we're seeing augmented reality really coming to the forefront, and volumetric video, real human capture, is essential for really bringing it all to life.
So that's something that, was kind of combing through the assets here in the Metastage performance library. I think that's something that I've really honed in on, is the accessibility of that content. Like, how do you generate the assets? And it's really cool that Metastage is, providing this utility, this availability, and this, absolute resource with all the captures that you've done over the past few years.
Yeah, you can see in this image, over the past year, we've been building up a stock asset library for really any use case that someone who purchases the asset in the Unity Asset Store might be interested in using them for. So when we built it, we imagined like architectural visualizations, bringing life and scale with real humans engaging in everyday behavior. But I mean, even looking forward to, if you were an XR creator creating a party scene and you just needed to put some people in the background, but you still wanted, you still do your hero assets, custom and bespoke. There really wasn't anything like that as far as a volumetric library that was publicly available. So we launched that about, I think, a month ago. And really what it does is it allows anybody from around the world to begin to play and experiment with volumetric video at a really affordable price. Getting into these studios, I mean, obviously they range, but it's a professional production operation. But if you're interested in, if you're a student or an artist or someone who doesn't have the budget to do a full, custom production, using these is a really fun way to start to understand the benefits of volumetric video.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. The democratization's a big thing with how technologies get adopted.
Yes. So that's in the Unity Asset Store, and people are welcome to check those out. It also works in Unreal as well. The Microsoft suite that we deliver to our clients and that you can access through the Unity Store has plugins for both Unreal and Unity. So no real preference there, but we just decided to start with the Unity Store.
Cool. So that perfect little segue for next panelist. So talking about distribution of content, wanted to talk with Paul for a minute. You've been working on and producing and distributing VR content to a global market for years. How have you evolved your production strategy over time?
I don't know if I could say it. We have a strategy in place. It feels like everything's always organic. But we started our service, Samsung XR, Samsung VR Video, with the launch of Gear VR 5 years ago. And we helped to, our focus was to provide a really good platform for content distribution. And over the years, we realized the number of people who watch 360 videos account nearly 50% on mobile VR devices, and I believe double digits in the PC VR devices as well. And some of the things we learned was that, number one, 360 video production is extremely difficult, costly. And we wanted to see if we could apply the same logic to volumetric videos. And for us, our volumetric video effort really started probably, I'd say, less than 4 years. We couldn't afford to buy one, so we decided to build one. So we had a prototype capture stage in Dallas. We took that over to our developer conference a couple of years ago. And just an idea of what if we could, provide a volumetric capture for all the attendees of our developer conference as a gift, and the developers can integrate their volumetric captures, animate them, whatever, and put them into the games, VR or AR experiences. So we ended up capturing about 600 plus over 2 days, just static T-poses. But yeah, we just kept on learning, and it was mostly capturing ourselves. And next thing you know, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and as you can see in the picture, I think this was sometime last year, I had an opportunity to host Oakland A Stomper at our Mountain View stage. And that was extremely fun. No, it was I was the only producer, and my product manager running the capture system software. We ended up creating, I think, 6 or 7 30-second dance sequences. It was just really fun for us. And over the next few months, the people we captured, dancers. I think if you move to the next slide with the videos, you could probably see the so a quick that's our monitoring system for directors. And then we had an opportunity to capture dancers from Oakland, U.S. congressmen, and everything was just like learning for us. And ultimately, we wanted to create, and the previous panelists have mentioned the democratization of volumetric video. We wanted to see if we could solve that problem by making our stage accessible. We're not established as a commercial studio or operation, nor do we provide commercial services. But our content production has been, learned for ourselves, and also at the same time offer, make it extremely accessible to our partners and health projects.
So this is something that we had talked a little bit about, was this great graphic by Arctis Studios that shows the capture studios around the world, and something that you were just kind of going into here specifically with accessibility to the capture studios. So it's kind of a follow-up question from being in the space for a number of years. Something out there for all the would-be startup founders. What are some of the biggest problems that you keep running into that haven't been fixed yet, or that you keep running into? And we kind of open this up to everyone on the panel. Let Paul take a first crack, but this is something that as a startup founder myself, like, it's really interesting to hear from people that are in the space and use these tools and are working on a new medium every day, and understand what their pain points are. Because if you can solve those pain points, you're producing something that is actually valuable for people in the forefront of a new medium.
Yeah, I think, to me, we obviously this is our main device, right? And I think for the time being, most people will consume these AR or holographic videos or volumetric videos using their phones. So I think distribution is a problem that yet to be solved, and probably format. Like, we have our own format. I know. I think every single capture system has their own. So that's an area where I think there's an opportunity for the startups or the new folks who's just getting into the volumetric game.
Yeah, it's almost like we're waiting for the hardware to catch up with the capture technology. It's very fun to play on tablet and mobile devices with volumetric captures, and I definitely can speak for the Microsoft system. They've done a great job at making the file sizes really small so that we can distribute through mobile devices. But obviously, I'm, like so many, very excited about glasses. That will be a truly revolutionary moment for volumetric video, when you can, when hands-free engage with holograms right in front of you. HoloLens 2 obviously has, I had the chance to view some volumetric video on a HoloLens 2 recently, and it was one of those pivotal moments for me in immersive, where suddenly, I think I might have gasped to see, what it felt like to have this person engaging in a realistic performance right in front of me, hands-free. So, and then also everybody wants, the holodeck. I have so many people coming to me and asking if we can do a CEO presentation at a conference in front of a large group of people. And as much as I wish that was the case, the 3D display technology for holograms, as we traditionally imagine them, it is not quite there yet, though they're working on that. So, and we're seeing some great strides from companies like Lightfield Labs and Looking Glass. But I would say that that's the biggest, I think that, I guess that's actually kind of not a bad place to be though, right? It means that, our captures are future proofed, and as the display technology
we lost Christina for a minute.
I'll jump in for a second till she gets back. Totally agreed about the devices. When you see a phone or a tablet or even desktop, there's definitely value there. And we started our program before they had even the immersive devices, figuring there was enough value to go to market, even with 2D screens. But when you have the immersive device, it requires this kind of content. If you want to have humans in an immersive experience, you have to have volumetric. And so I totally agree with Christina and also Paul that as those things mature, as the market matures, then it'll be a no-brainer, like why you need this and where you must have it.
So Jalina, I'd love to
agree. I mean, yeah, sorry. One of the things that we're actually also excited about is just the opportunity with 5G, since 5G provides low enough latency to make cloud computing and pixel streaming solutions viable. And with pixel streaming, low latency is the only requirement on the end user's device to view pretty much anything that you're going to serve them. So that, would cover volumetric. And at that point, that makes things like file size or formats much less of a concern for developers and creators, and thereby allowing them the freedom to build experiences that can be viewed across a wide range of platforms and devices without having to worry about the constraints of those particular unique platform requirements. So creators can actually define their hardware needs and build their projects to those specs.
One more quick thought on that note of what is guidance for people coming into the space, newer studios starting up, and it's like the challenge of going from the point cloud or the mesh to delivered production asset, and doing that in a way that's client friendly. You can deliver reliably, affordably, and have a usable asset with a tool set around it to do post production. That is a huge amount of work, and it's not the most interesting work at all. And it's very easy to underestimate. And I think, studios like Metastage or Dimension and so on, that really is their business. They're professionals at production. And so they take the raw technology and make it something that feels like a video studio versus just some piece of R&D.
Yeah.
Cool. So one of the next things I wanted to have everyone kind of give some thoughts around is that you all have lots of experience across different technologies and backgrounds. So what was your crystallizing moment that made you jump all in on this new medium that is volumetric video? What, whoever wants to go first, please jump on in.
I'll jump in, and then if I freeze up, Steve can jump in again for me. Yeah, I've been working in totally and completely in immersive since the beginning of 2014, and volumetric video. The first time I saw it, again, it was just one of those light bulb aha moments where it felt like there was a person standing right in front of me. That being said, the technology didn't feel ready for prime time yet. When I was looking at it, I think in 2015, when you'd walk around the model, you would see a lot of artifacting, things were breaking. And then on top of it, integration into game engine was complicated, and the file sizes were very large. So while there was a lot of promise in 2015, it didn't feel quite ready for prime time, at least with the technology that I was engaging with at that moment. Fast forward now to 2018 when we were launching Metastage. At that point, it felt like, here, now we can really bring this to market in a major way. It felt like the time was right. The technology had advanced significantly enough that we could bring the promise of volumetric video, which is, the closest thing to the real thing. I mean, we're talking about full 3D performance capture with all the nuances, the micro expressions of the real live performance. that, like I said, that is super important as we're moving forward in immersive. I don't want to be in a virtual world that doesn't have real people and real performances in it. So yeah, for me, it just felt like when the tech was ready for prime time, Volumetric's place at the table is obvious. And coming from a documentary background and a journalism background and live action background, it feels like a very natural evolution to be engaging with volumetric video now.
Very cool.
For me, the moment that that kind of hit me was when we captured one of our executives. It just got him we ended up getting a T-pose of him, and just to make fun of him a little bit, we ended up taking his model, volumetric capture model. One of our 3D artists went into town and ended up applying a mix-and-match animation. And I mixed in this K-pop music with the animated avatar. I was able to share that with Ken. And as soon as he shared a video clip of him dancing to a K-pop music, and he shared it to his daughter in Korea, I got an immediate response, LOL, LOL, LOL. And the response was like, Dad, how did you do this? I think that was the moment for me, that this type of content can be integrated into the social media generation, and just see someone getting that much joy out of that 10-second clip. I think that was a moment for me.
Chime in with I guess personal story as well. I used to head up R&D at Lucasfilm, and we did a lot of work around photogrammetry and motion capture and stuff for movies back during the 2000s, including movies like Minority Report. So the concept of doing volumetric capture was a very real thing for us, but we would use it for film. So you do just enough to make the movie, set it on the shelf, wait for somebody else to come along to push it along. So we knew what was possible, but we weren't really in a business situation to pursue it. And after I'd had a nice career there, and Microsoft came along and said, hey, we're incubating this thing to do volumetric video for real and make it an actual thing in the market. And that seemed super appealing, to take something and knowing what was possible, try to make that happen. So I actually joined on before it was mature and try to bridge that gap between what we were doing in special effects into something that the consumer world could actually use. So it's been really gratifying that it actually kind of worked, and I can make a second career out of it. So definitely all in.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For me, my pivotal moment was at the Future of Storytelling a few years ago, and it was with a VR play by a French XR studio called DV, and the audience is slowly immersed into this play and has the opportunity to interact with Bela Lugosi's avatar, which was being driven by an actor that was wearing motion capture gear. He had mocap headset on and gloves, and the audience's ability to actually physically interact with the other participants in the experience, as well as to interact with a fully life-size volumetric Bela Lugosi. And even though he was black and white, he was fully 3D, and it felt like he was right there with us, especially since he was able to interact with us seamlessly and in real time. It was a mind-blowing experience, and I've never seen such a collective response from an audience. It was just unanimous joy, and that was definitely, I think, one of the most inspiring creative experiences I've had.
Very cool. Yeah, it's I think it's a blend of the human moment where you feel so connected to the virtual being in front of you, and then also the from Steve's point of the trailblazer, I can make sci-fi reality now, and kind of seems to be a very common thread with all of us that are excited by this new medium of it makes you more human than ever before, and it's also taking something that we've all dreamed and conceptualized for years, and it's actually right here. So wanted to kind of circle back to 5G and volumetric. I know, Jalina, you had kind of discussed this in one of the previous answers, but wanted to make sure this is a huge topic that is important for technology right now, is just kind of talking about the importance of 5G on different technology plays. And so wanted to make sure we could, discuss 5G specifically if we wanted to kind of come back to it. I know Jalina's already given us some good insight on this. So I'm happy to pop onto other topics, but wanted to make sure I gave this as a platform for anyone that wanted more.
Well, I mean, volumetric is, oh no, go for it, Steve.
No,
Yeah.
please, Christina.
I was just saying volumetric is still data heavy, even at the small file sizes that we're operating with now. So, you know, more power and pushing data through the pipes will definitely benefit in more robust, more long form experiences for volumetric.
So, yeah. Jalina, I know you had talked about the importance of pixel streaming, and for people that are not quite as in the weeds in the technology, I was wondering if you could maybe discuss that technology a little bit and talk about like why that's going to be so enabling.
Well, as I mentioned, it pushes the requirements to the user's device, where it can actually accommodate anything, and so that's a huge benefit for anybody who's creating this type of content, which is so heavy. The downside is that it pushes the cost of running the projects to the provider, whereas it was previously with the user. However, there's the added benefit of security, because you're pixel streaming, you're streaming a video rather than actually having your actual asset or model out there and vulnerable to being stolen. So it's a video. So I think that's a benefit.
Gotcha. So this is the like equivalent of the, like, for video games, the Google Stadia, where I'm not playing the game on my console. Someone's playing the game on a render server and I'm just watching the live stream. So similar technology for volumetric, it can have the same effect.
Exactly.
Very cool.
The way I think of it, if you look at like what two. Should I continue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, I look at generations of the networks that have launched in the past. Like, so for example, 2G enabled multimedia services. 3G was all about mobile web. You're able to search Google on your mobile phone. But when you think about what 4G brought for consumers, it was essentially being able to watch YouTube or Netflix on your phone, right? And it couldn't have been done without 4G being, installed everywhere. So I do see volumetric video as the next generational streamable digital media that could only be powered or just made better with 5G network. I think, 5G will give rise to different, more immersive streaming of content services. Who knows? They could be the next, the next Netflix or YouTube of volumetric videos in the future.
Yeah, we put a lot of work into compressing these things to get them through 4G, but it's a capture or two, and in almost all use cases. You also want context along with the video, even if your context may be AR in more immersive settings, you have a whole world with it too. And so 5G opens the door to not be so constrained and bring multiple performances in full context, either streaming the pixels or streaming the content itself and having it play on device, whatever. You have that option with 5G that we're going through a very thin straw right now in 4G.
So talking about and we've touched on this a little bit with some of the earlier questions around pain points and things, but what is a volumetric video? How do I watch it? What's the file format? Like, what am I getting into whenever I'm trying to actually engage with this new medium?
I'll jump in. The current way that we've done it anyway is a textured mesh, and we try to make it as familiar and accessible as possible. So to developers, it looks and feels, especially if you're starting in Unity or Unreal, like a game object. And you build a game world around this game object, and you do all the same things you would with relighting, casting shadows, colliding things with it, etc. It doesn't have to be that way for sure, but that's just the approach we've taken for developers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching this and you're not a game engine developer, but you're somebody that's interested in using volumetric for your project, at Metastage, our goal is to make it as plug and play as possible. So, like I said, Unity is probably the game engine that most of our clients engage with. If you don't have a game engine developer, we can link you with wonderful partners we've worked with already. Really, the beauty is that we're trying to create a 3D asset that has the most fidelity to whatever's been captured on stage. And so really, we put as much energy into the production as possible to get the performance that you're looking for. And that's kind of the beauty of volumetric as opposed to mocap or something like that. The actor or the performer, the dancer goes out on the stage, and then it's like a live performance. You're trying to get the best performance you possibly can. And then we process that, deliver that to your game engine developer or partner, and they can just drag it in and you're ready to go.
One thing that's worth noting too is the advent of WebAR and playback of volumetric through WebAR allows you to have this very frictionless experiences where you just bring up a browser or point at a glyph and you've got access to it, which eliminates that download friction. And we're seeing a real new wave of interest of clients where that's accessible and attractive in a way that a download would not be.
So I think that's our time for the panel side of this. It's 11:15 where I'm at, so I think that we're getting back to the track chair.
Well,
Hi, thank you very much. It was super interesting.
Yeah.
And we have some time left for Q&A, of course, and I see that we have a question from Chad Estelle from MindGeek. Asking if you can take these volumetric assets and rig a skeleton up to add motion capture or similar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Paul's got a very good workflow there, and he shared some videos with me. So I think, Paul, you've got a good answer there.
Yeah, what we do is we take our mesh, either PL1, we convert them to OBJ, upload them to Mixamo. Select motion, and that's it. It's pretty simple.
We found too, it depends on the use case. You're totally right, we can technically do it. Often the use cases are about capturing the authentic person performance. So overriding with the skeleton is kind of a different thing. You may actually want to use a higher resolution static scan to then drive with the skeleton versus using a video, which in some ways you're kind of fighting what the lighting is doing and what the performer was trying to do with what the skeleton is trying to do. So small overrides are invaluable, like changing gaze direction, changing pointing, that kind of thing is really necessary and immersive, but we found that going too far, it gets odd and you need to think about it a different way.
Yeah, you're almost losing the benefit of what volumetric capture was designed to do, which is, like I said, capture the real performance.
Oh, I should also mention that when you start to animate volumetric capture, you do start to introduce uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Yes, and connecting to what Jalina was saying about the power of this social immersive experience, I will, of course, share this panel with a choreographer here in Geneva, Gigi Ben, and he's working in this for this immersive choreography in which he is letting the audience meeting the performers, and of course they are struggling with all the uncanny valleys that you pointed at, like animatic static models, and not being able to afford the size and the flexibility of having a choreography being directed inside the volumetric capture studio. So right now they are using motion capture, but I'm sure that they will soon move toward full volumetric capture of the performance, because the results are amazing. And as you said, meeting, I think it was a pivotal moment. For example, I remember when I first saw photogrammetry in VR, that was somehow amazing for me, and the same impression I had when I met the first scan of a human, of course, in VR. And this introduces my question: did you, in your business, is there somebody merging the two worlds? Because beside the highly desirable AR applications, are there VR applications of volumetric captures?
Yeah, actually, your story. Yeah, I was going to say your story reminded me of our very first project at Metastage. The 100% was what it was called. It was a ballet where we captured all of the ballerinas at Metastage. It was a VR experience where those volumetric ballerinas were then placed on a scan of the Orpheum Theater in Vancouver.
Wow.
So it gave you the most lifelike digital representation of being at a live ballet performance. And that piece did end up getting nominated for an Emmy and won a Tribeca Award. Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, you know, anywhere in immersive where you can imagine a human performance or a human capture adding benefit, you know, volumetric plays a part there, and certainly does blend beautifully with photogrammetry scans of real life environments, right? Because this is where we're uniquely able to serve the immersive market, is in bridging the real and the virtual.
Will be amazing.
Yeah, many of our projects have been in a VR immersive environment too, and that's where things like relighting and shadows and being able to use it as a creature in a world versus just the photographed element becomes really important. A lot of applications are there.
And we have a last question from Gregory Panos, and he's asking, when do you think raw point cloud display in real-time hardware will arrive? Quite a hard question to answer. It will arrive.
I don't know. Who's got that one?
Looking Glass has one, I suppose.
But I would like. I think I got in touch with some of your. Yes, of course. And what I would say is I expect a lot from artists playing with these technologies, because it's not only about techniques, but also about the level of the stories and the innovativeness of the experiences that we can deliver. Otherwise, we all professional, but we tend to concentrate on what is selling the most. But sometimes you have an artist with just a portion of your technology creates a whole new line of research. And so I hope you will keep your studios open to the artistic community, like dancers, and not only big industry, but also small researchers that in these fields.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we always encourage everyone to have a conversation with us if they're interested in working with volumetric, because there's often a lot you can do inside limitations. Let's say maybe if you only have a constrained budget, we'll try to work with you to see if there's a way that we can both be successful. So, and then, like we said at the beginning, you know, there's the Metastage library on the Unity store for anybody that's just interested in getting their hands on volumetric but doesn't have a budget. You know, I think they're about $40 a piece. So, yeah, I definitely agree. You know, without the artists and the visionaries working in this medium, it will be relegated to only commercials and brand experiences, and that would be a shame.
Yeah, we were talking about democratization, so it's just a matter of time, I hope. Please.
Yeah. If you're in the Dallas area, we're happy to give you a tour.
Same in New York. We're open to working with artists, and we have a creators program to help educate people about this new medium and get them interested in playing with it.
So, great. Thank you very much to all our speakers. I think we have another question from Chad. How do you see this tech scaling to mobile in the future? ARKit mockup depth TOF cameras, etc.
Well, I think.
Sorry, go ahead,
Steve. Challenging, only because you know, phones. If you do have to have multiple cameras all go up at the same time, and it's very difficult to synchronize all these phone cameras at once. Actually, we're trying to solve that problem.
This is actually something that Scandy's been working on, and I think why I'm the moderator for this is we've been working on a beta version of mobile-based volumetric capture. It doesn't look or feel as, you know, published and polished as the thing that's coming out of y'all's very high-end production studios, but we've been working on a mobile application that uses the iPhone 10 front-facing sensor to volumetric capture. And so it's a single point of capture right now where it's just the front-facing camera, so you just get whatever it is you're looking at. But in terms of kind of our vision for this is taking we need access. Everyone in the world needs to have access to this technology sooner rather than later, so they can start understanding how things feel, and they can all have that like human moment where you can scan something volumetrically and it plays back. And while it's not perfect, it's better than a picture. And that's something that we think is really important with XR moving forward, is that you can't let the enemy of, let perfect be the enemy of the good. And so we think that a single point of capture volumetric video is infinitely better than taking a 2D photo or 2D video.
Yeah, I totally support that. Right on. We spend a lot of our time driving the high end and pushing that, but we're very interested in democratizing. That's basically our mission. And so supporting and helping, collaborating with people working at the lower end, however we can, is also super important to Microsoft's mission. People are capturing with, say, the Kinect devices or phones, whatever. Anybody, once they appreciate and understand the value and where volumetric lives in the media universe, you need the ability to capture it cheaply wherever you are.
Thank you. I think our time is up. Thank you very much to all of you. It was super interesting. And thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.